Now, I am going to share with you some issues about the future value of older houses, what's going to happen when the builders start coming back, and they are in many parts of the country starting to build new houses again, and what would happen if interest rates start to go up. With those of you that own a house, how would rising interest rates affect the value of my house? So we're going to talk about that. Near 5 or 6 years ago, when the economy started getting bad, maybe actually even a little longer than that, seniors would say, well, the economy's too unstable right now, things are too uncertain, we're not going to make any changes until the economy gets better. Well, guess what? It's 2014. It's not that much different than it was. And now seniors are saying, I can't let my life and what I need depend on the economy because I have no control over that. So now they're starting to say, regardless of the economy, if I need a better way of living, I'm going to do it. Socialization is a really big deal in senior living communities today, much more than in the past. How many of you would believe that I live in a retirement community? Anybody? Okay, yeah, I got a few believers. I actually do live in one of those 55-plus active adult communities. I'll tell you just briefly how that happened. My wife and I were living, just the two of us, in this 5-bedroom house. How dumb is that? On an acre of land. And my wife said, when I got sick and it didn't look too good, she said, I'm not going to let you die and leave me stuck alone in this big house to handle it alone and make the move at some point myself. So we're going to get out while you're still alive and able to help. And I want to be in a place where there's some security and people, you know, around, if you're not around, that I can be with. So we moved to the 55-plus community up the road. And I can tell you the biggest thing about living there is all the social stuff and all the friends that we have. It's amazing. I would not have gone to the big St. Patrick's Day parade in Savannah, Georgia this March had it not been for living in the neighborhood, because of the friends that say, hey, we're going to Savannah. You want to come with us? Sure, we'll go. For other friends, hey, we're going to the Virgin Islands. You want to go? Sure. None of that stuff would we have done had we not lived in that community and had all those new friends to socialize with. And I was telling somebody this interesting thing I heard the other day, and I'll just ask you, how much socialization are you doing in your current neighborhood today? And are the people living in your neighborhood all similar interests to you? And many neighborhoods have people moving in who, you know, the seniors just don't socialize with because they're maybe families with a lot of children and they're working. And so you don't see the amount of socialization in typical neighborhoods today that you used to. Someone at one of these seminars came up to me afterward and said, well, Rick, did you hear the story or the news thing about what one of the greatest causes of the lack of socialization in neighborhoods was or is? And I said, no, I didn't hear. What is it? It's a mechanical device. Anybody want to guess what mechanical device has contributed to a reduction in socialization in typical neighborhoods? Pardon? Automobiles, computers, cell phones, internet, automatic garage door opener. Think about it. You drive into your garage, you shut the door, you get out of the car while you're in the garage, you get in the car to leave, you open the garage door, you drive off, you shut. You're never out in front of the house waving to your neighbors. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So what are my options? So here's what you can do. You can be like my mom, who's going to be 90 the last day of May, and stay in your house until something happens, and then deal with it. So stay in the house until something happens, and then go to personal care or assisted living or memory care or the nursing home, like my mom, who for the last about 15 years, I've been saying, Mom, you need to get out of the house. There's no reason to be alone in this house. Nope, 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 nope. I'm staying here till something happens. Then, if that happens, you can come deal with it. Because you know all about these retirement communities and all that stuff, so you're an expert. You can come figure out what to do if something happens. So 2 years ago, on the Friday of Memorial Day, my sister called. Have you heard from Mom? No. Well, she just fell. Broke her hip at McDonald's. So guess who spent the next 10 days in El Paso, Texas, taking care of it? My sister and I. Point is, that is one of your options, is to say, look, we love our house so much, we're just going to stay here, and then if something does happen, then we'll worry about it later. Just know, probably your children, doctors, and a lot of other people are going to be involved in what needs to happen next, and not yet. So now, what about making the best choice regarding my lifestyle, health, fitness, security, socialization, and my money? So let me go through each one of those with you. On lifestyle, I would encourage you when you go back to your house to think about, in living in this house, am I doing the things that I have to do because of the house, or am I really living the way I would like to live? The point is the house controlling your life? For my mom, it is. I know when we go on trips, the whole time we're gone. Well, I wonder what's going on at the house. I hope everything is okay at the house. I can't believe all I need to do when I get back at the house. I mean, she's obsessed with worrying about the house, not necessarily living the life she would like to because of the house. A lady in the audience, this was about 2 years ago, raised her hand and said, Mr. Hunsicker, I'm glad you brought that up, because there's mornings I wake up and I ask myself this question: do I own this house, or does this house own me? So when you go back home, from a lifestyle perspective, just think, does the house own me? And does the house control my lifestyle? Or am I really living the way I'd like to live at this time? So does your house own you? How many of you have 3 or 4 bedrooms? Okay. How many do you use every day? Every day. 1. How many of you have 2 or 3 baths? And how many do you use every day? Every day. Probably 1, some maybe 2. How many living areas? Many people have 2 living areas, but they never use the living room. They only use the den. The point is, many of you may have a 3 or 4 bedroom house with 2 living areas and 2 or 3 bathrooms, and you're using about a third of it. Okay, so is that wise use of that shelter and that housing? Because you're paying for all of it. That's the one document that I've been able to find that proves, or based on the study, that people do live longer, healthier lives in continuing care retirement communities. And I've had a lot of people in the business say to me, Rick, it's longer than that. I say, do you have the document? Well, no, I just heard. Okay. Well, once I get the document, I'll update it. But that is definitely a fact, that people typically live longer in these types of communities. Okay, fitness. Fitness is a big deal. I would make a bet with anybody that people that live in senior living communities are more fit than people that don't. I've had a few people that say, well, I go to the fitness center, the 24-hour fitness or LA Fitness or whatever that is. And when you go to those places, I don't know if you've been to one lately, but what they have there is a lot of 20-year-old people with hardly any clothes on, with muscles popping out all over. Have any of you been to one of those? Yeah. So this fellow here might be like the man I'm going to tell you about. So this guy said, yeah, I go every day to that place. I said, wow, you work out every day? He said, oh, no, I go to watch. So the point is, in a senior living community, the fitness centers are designed for seniors, and they have staff there that will show you how to use the machines and make sure you don't get injured, and you're working out with people like you in things that you should be doing. Security? How about this question? Do you know what will happen if you fall in your bathroom at 2 in the morning tonight? Anybody know?
I'll lay there until morning.
You'll lay there till morning. Okay? All day for you? Pardon? Call 911. So you've got the button. Okay, so lady has a button. So she lived alone And she was probably 92 or 93 at that time in a house on a lot of land in Longview, Texas. And all of a sudden her health really started to go down. And everyone thought this is probably the end. She went to the doctor, and the doctor said, it's all about nutrition. You're just not eating. So I would even call her and say, Nana, what did you have for breakfast? She said, a half a piece of toast. Well, what did you have for lunch? Guess what she said? The other half. She just wasn't eating. And a lot of people that live alone just don't eat. And it was causing her health to really go down. So the doctor said, do you want to die pretty soon or do you want to live? And she said, well, I think I'd like to live. Then you need to get out of that house and move to a senior living community where you can get regular, nutritious meals. So she calls my wife and says, guess what? I'm moving. Wow, you're moving? Where? To a retirement community. Wow. When? This week. Whoa. Why? Because the doctor told me to. So seniors seem to listen to the doctors more than the kids, because we've been talking to her for years about not being alone in the house, but she moved in. And on March 15th of, well, that would have been a month and 2 days ago, she turned 100. So because she moved in, and she will tell you, I wouldn't be here if I didn't move into that retirement community and start eating better. Now, another thing people get when they go to senior living communities that's related to socialization is relationships, right? They meet new people. What do you think Nana got in the way of a relationship when she moved to the retirement community? Anybody want to say? A boyfriend, yes. She got the boyfriend. Now, I want to make this point. I'm not saying that if you're a single lady out there that this is the way to go get a boyfriend. Okay, so I'm not implying that that's going to happen to everybody, but it happened to her. He was at table, had the same lunch table, and they became very, very close. And she would tell you that was one of the very best things about living at the retirement community. Unfortunately, he died on his 90th birthday. And she was probably 95 or 96 at that time. Now, it reminds me of calls that I get from my mom, who's going to be 90, I mentioned earlier, on the last day of May, next month. And I'll get this call about 3 or 4 times a year. Hello? Hi, it's your mom. Oh, hi, how are you? Not so good. Oh, my gosh, what's wrong? Guess who just died? Because at that age, every 3 or 4 months, she's losing a friend. Now, I'm going to tell you what I told her, and it's kind of sad, it's kind of funny, but it's very true. I said, Mom, that wouldn't be a problem if you lived in a retirement community. And she went, what? That wouldn't be a problem? I said, no. They'll replace them. See, it's kind of sad, and then some people might say, well, but wait a minute. Hold on, it's true. It's true. And here's the deal. If your neighbor moves, how much control do you have over who your new neighbor is going to be? But in a senior living community, if your neighbor moves for whatever reason, it's going to be someone like you. Similar age, probably similar financial capabilities, probably similar background. My neighbor next door, average age where I live is 69.4, probably a little more now. They're moving to assisted living. I'm anxious to see who my new neighbor is going to be, because I know they're going to be probably someone like us that we're going to want to have fun and party with and all that kind of stuff. Now, let's get to the money.